The night everything shifted began like a quiet breath held too long. Sarah stood in the kitchen of the small house in Ohio, the clock above the fridge blinking late, the rain tapping the window like it wanted to be let in. She had learned that moments before change always felt normal until they were not. Since marrying Mark 2 years earlier, Sarah had tried to be steady, kind, and invisible when needed. Mark traveled often for work, leaving Sarah and his 17-year-old son Jake alone for weeks at a time. Jake was tall, awkward, smart, and unsure of himself in ways that reminded Sarah too much of her own past. He joked too much, laughed at the wrong times, and hid his fear behind careless words. Jake had never said it out loud, but Sarah saw it in his eyes. He felt behind his friends, behind the stories they shared, behind the life he thought he should already understand. School hallways had become a maze for him. Every laugh felt like it was aimed his way, every silence felt louder than noise. That night Jake hovered near the kitchen door, pretending to look for a snack, his hoodie sleeves pulled over his hands, his phone dark in his pocket. Sarah noticed everything, she always did. He cleared his throat and tried a joke about burning popcorn, but his voice cracked, the joke fell flat, and he stopped smiling too quickly. Sarah asked him to sit, not as a command, but as an offer. Jake hesitated, then dropped into the chair across from her. The space between them felt heavy with words neither knew how to start. Jake finally spoke, fast and tangled, about a girl at school named Emily, about how his friends teased him, about how he did not know what he was doing wrong. His jokes never landed the way he hoped. People laughed, but not kindly. He said he felt like he was always pretending, always guessing. Sarah listened without interrupting. She did not rush to fix him. She remembered being young, confused, and lonely. She remembered wishing someone would just stay quiet long enough to understand. Jake admitted he had never been good at reading people, that humor felt safer than honesty, that he joked because silence scared him more than embarrassment. His eyes stayed on the table as if looking up might make him break. Sarah felt something deep and sharp, not attraction, not romance, but responsibility mixed with care, the kind that settles in the chest and refuses to leave. She knew she had to tread carefully. Guidance mattered, but boundaries mattered more. She told him the truth gently, that jokes can protect but also hide, that people sometimes laugh because they do not know what else to do. She said confidence was not about having experience, it was about being present and kind to yourself. Jake looked up then, surprised, like he had expected judgment and found patience instead. The rain outside grew heavier, the house wrapped itself in sound. Sarah shared small stories from her own youth, not dramatic, just real, moments of feeling out of place, of saying the wrong thing, of learning slowly. She explained that attraction, friendship, and respect all grow from honesty, not performance. She told him that it was okay to not know yet, that life was not a race, especially not at 17. Jake nodded, his shoulders relaxing inch by inch. He admitted he was scared of becoming like his mother who had left years ago, scared of failing before even starting. Sarah felt the ache of that fear. She chose her words carefully. She told him fear did not mean weakness, it meant he cared. She said caring was a strength many people lose as they grow older. The conversation stretched late into the night, not dramatic, not loud, but meaningful. Jake asked how to stop joking when he felt nervous. Sarah suggested pausing, breathing, listening first. She reminded him that silence can be powerful too. When Jake finally stood to go to his room, he thanked her quietly, not with a joke, but with sincerity. It felt like a small victory. After he left, Sarah sat alone at the table, the weight of what she had stepped into settling over her. She knew helping Jake would not be a single conversation, it would be a process, slow and careful. She wondered if Mark would understand the closeness forming through trust. She wondered if she was strong enough to guide without overstepping. The house felt different now, like a door had opened that could not easily be closed. Upstairs, Jake lay awake, replaying her words, feeling something new, not confidence yet, but hope, and hope, he realized, was more dangerous than fear, because it made him want more. Downstairs, Sarah turned off the kitchen light, unaware that this was only the beginning, that the bond forming would soon be tested, and that one honest conversation had set them both on a path neither fully understood yet. The morning after their long talk, Sarah woke early, the house quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the soft patter of leftover rain against the window. She made coffee, her thoughts drifting to Jake, wondering if her words had reached him, if he felt even a little lighter than the day before. The weight of being 17 could be heavy, and she hoped she had eased it even slightly. Jake appeared in the kitchen sooner than she expected, his hair messy, hoodie still on, his hands stuffed into his pockets. He hesitated at the doorway, then gave a small, awkward smile. It was the first genuine smile she had seen in weeks, one that was not hiding behind a joke, and it made her heart twist with quiet pride. He asked about breakfast, and she suggested eggs and toast, simple, nothing fancy, but she noticed he lingered near the counter, watching her move around with a kind of curiosity that felt new. He tried a small comment about burning the eggs, but it came out soft, unsure, and she laughed, not mockingly, but warmly, encouraging him to speak without fear. Over breakfast, Jake shared more about school, about Emily, about the strange pressure he felt from friends who seemed so confident. He admitted he sometimes wished he could disappear when he did not understand something. Sarah nodded, letting him talk, letting him feel safe. She did not rush to give advice, she simply listened, the room filled with an easy quiet that was rare for them. After breakfast, Sarah suggested a small walk, the sun breaking through clouds, damp streets shining in the light. Jake agreed, slow at first, then faster as he found rhythm. Sarah noticed the way he glanced around, observing small details he would have overlooked before, the way he asked questions about the neighborhood, the trees, even the way the birds moved. It was subtle, but it showed awareness growing inside him. As they walked, Jake admitted he had tried to follow her advice, to pause before joking, to notice feelings before acting. He laughed softly at a moment in class when he had stayed silent and observed instead of jumping in. He said it had been strange, uncomfortable, but he had learned something important about himself. Sarah smiled, proud, but careful not to make him feel pressured. When they returned, Mark had just arrived from a trip. The house suddenly felt smaller, busier. Jake stiffened at the sound of his father's keys, and Sarah saw the tension in his shoulders, the unspoken worry about being judged or corrected. She touched his arm lightly, a silent signal that he was not alone, that she had his back. Mark greeted them warmly, unaware of the new dynamic forming. He asked Jake about school, sports, friends, and Jake answered with cautious honesty, trying out phrases Sarah had suggested. He noticed Mark listened, not just hearing words, but really paying attention, and that gave Jake a small spark of confidence, a feeling he had never had before. Later in the day, Sarah and Jake spent time in the living room. She brought out a small notebook, suggesting he write down thoughts when he felt overwhelmed. He was skeptical at first, but as he wrote, he realized he could capture feelings without fear of judgment, his handwriting messy but sincere. Sarah sat beside him, not guiding too much, just there, a steady presence. Jake paused mid-sentence, looked at her, and asked if it was strange to feel both nervous and happy at the same time. Sarah nodded, explaining that new experiences often brought mixed feelings, that growth was messy, that learning about yourself was sometimes confusing but always worth it. He seemed to take that in deeply, as if hearing it from someone else made it real. That evening, the storm returned, soft rain tapping against the windows, the world outside muted. Inside the house, Jake and Sarah shared small jokes, little playful comments, no pressure, no pretense, just human connection. Jake admitted he felt lighter than he had in months, and Sarah realized that building trust, not giving answers, was the true work. Dinner was quiet, Mark noticing the calm energy between them. He commented on how grown-up Jake seemed, and Jake shrugged, blushing slightly. He did not mention Sarah, but she saw the gratitude in his eyes, a silent acknowledgement of her support, of the patience that had allowed him to try, fail, and try again. Later, Sarah went upstairs to check on Jake, found him still writing in his notebook, his expression thoughtful, not anxious. She asked if he wanted to talk about anything. He shook his head, smiling softly, then paused and looked at her, asking if it was normal to feel proud of small victories. She nodded, telling him it was not only normal but important. Before leaving, she placed a hand gently on his shoulder, a steady, grounding touch. He did not flinch, did not recoil, he accepted it, feeling the quiet support, the understanding that mistakes did not define him, that growth came from trying and feeling, from being allowed to fail safely. As she went back to her own room, Sarah reflected on the change, subtle but significant. She realized that the bond between them was no longer just obligation, but respect and trust, a connection that could carry him through challenges, that could guide without suffocating, that could teach him about life without taking over. Jake lay in bed that night, notebook by his side, replaying the day, noticing how small moments had made him feel capable, seen, heard. He thought about Emily, about school, about himself, realizing that he could handle more than he had believed, that mistakes did not ruin him, that someone truly cared and would walk beside him without judgment. Sarah, meanwhile, felt the weight of responsibility and warmth, knowing that helping Jake was a journey, not a single conversation, that moments like these were precious, fleeting, and formative. She wondered what challenges tomorrow would bring, what questions he might have, what fears he would face, but she also knew that the seed of confidence had been planted. And as the house settled into quiet sleep, both of them felt it, an unspoken acknowledgement that the path forward was unknown, exciting, and daunting, a gentle tension of trust, growth, and the fragile beauty of connection, one small victory leading to another, one honest moment shaping the next, leaving both of them on the edge of discovery, unaware of how deeply their bond would be tested. The rain whispered against the roof, carrying with it the promise of change, and neither Sarah nor Jake could foresee what tomorrow would demand, but they both felt ready, together, to face it. The chapter closed with the calm before the next wave, the soft click of the night settling in, a quiet hope lingering between them, hinting at struggles, growth, and the lessons only life could teach, leaving hearts alert, curious, and yearning for what came next. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the blinds, painting lines across the wooden floor. Sarah was already awake, sipping coffee, thinking about Jake, about how much he had grown in such a short time. She felt a quiet anticipation, knowing that today might bring new challenges, moments that could either strengthen his confidence or test his courage. Jake appeared in the kitchen, dressed for school, backpack slung over one shoulder, his posture different, more upright, more present. He paused at the doorway, giving Sarah a quick smile. It was small, but it carried weight, the kind of smile that spoke of inner change. He said a simple morning, but it felt more confident than yesterday, and Sarah nodded, returning the gesture, her heart light. Breakfast was quieter than usual, the three of them together, Mark commenting on mundane things like the weather and a new show he had started. Jake listened, answering with thought instead of joke, and Sarah noticed the shift in energy, the way his words carried attention and care. It was subtle, but real, a sign of progress. After breakfast, Sarah suggested they try something new, a challenge for Jake, a way to practice honesty and observation outside the safety of the house. She proposed a small trip to a nearby park, not far, but enough for him to face strangers, conversations, and the unpredictable. He hesitated, then agreed, feeling both nervous and curious. At the park, Jake stumbled at first, unsure of how to approach people in casual conversation, unsure of how to respond without hiding behind humor. Sarah stayed beside him, offering encouragement without directing, letting him feel capable on his own. He tried, faltered, laughed at himself quietly, then tried again, each attempt building a quiet confidence. They stopped by a pond where ducks waddled and children ran past. Jake observed, noticing details he would have ignored before, a bird's wing catching the sun, the way ripples moved across the water. Sarah commented softly, pointing out that noticing small things helped him stay present, helped him connect with the world without anxiety. He nodded, absorbing it in a way that felt alive. Later, they found a small bench under an old oak tree, and Jake admitted something he had not shared before, a secret fear of never feeling good enough, of always being the awkward one, of watching others seem to have life figured out. Sarah listened quietly, her presence steady, letting him speak, letting him release the weight he had carried alone for too long. She told him that everyone felt that way sometimes, that being human was messy, that nobody had everything figured out, even adults. She shared small, relatable examples from her own life, stories of uncertainty, moments of embarrassment, of trying and failing, of learning slowly, and Jake's eyes widened, realizing he was not alone, that mistakes did not define him. The sky grew golden, the air crisp with the coming evening, and Jake felt a shift inside, a quiet pride that was unfamiliar, a sense of capability that made his chest feel lighter. He spoke more freely now, asking questions, sharing thoughts, trying small jokes that landed this time, laughter that was not a shield but a bridge, a connection, and Sarah felt a gentle satisfaction, watching him blossom. On the way home, Jake asked Sarah about courage, what it truly meant. She said courage was trying even when you were scared, speaking even when you felt unsure, facing mistakes and learning from them. He nodded, considering the words deeply, realizing that courage was not about being fearless, but about being willing to feel, to act, and to trust. Back at the house, Mark arrived a little earlier than expected, cheerful and oblivious to the transformation he had witnessed in his son. He talked about work, appointments, and friends, and Jake responded confidently, holding conversation without hiding, without masking himself. Mark paused, noticing the change, a subtle, proud smile spreading across his face. That evening, Sarah and Jake shared another quiet moment, sitting together in the living room, the house calm, the soft hum of lights and distant traffic filling the space. They reflected on the day, on growth, on fears faced and lessons learned. Jake admitted he felt stronger, not fearless, but ready to try more, to fail less, to understand more about himself. Sarah reminded him that growth was ongoing, that every day brought new challenges, and that he was never alone in facing them. He listened carefully, internalizing not just the words, but the feeling of support, the feeling that someone genuinely cared and would walk beside him, a feeling he had craved without realizing it. As night settled, Jake prepared for bed, still carrying the warmth of the day, the notebook at his side, pen ready to capture thoughts, feelings, and observations. Sarah peeked in briefly, offering a quiet good night, and he responded with a sincere thank you, not a joke, not a shield, but honesty, the kind that meant more than words. Sarah lingered in the doorway, watching him settle, realizing that the bond they had built was now strong enough to endure setbacks, challenges, and mistakes. She understood that guiding him had become less about giving answers and more about presence, patience, and gentle encouragement, the trust between them solidifying with each shared moment. Jake lay awake for a while, replaying the day, the small victories, the times he had felt seen and heard, the moments of courage, of honesty, of connection. He realized that life could be lived with both fear and excitement, and that he had someone beside him who made the journey feel possible, not easy, but worth it. Sarah, in her own room, reflected on the transformation, understanding that guiding Jake had changed her too, teaching her patience, perspective, and the quiet satisfaction of witnessing someone grow. She felt a deep, steady warmth, knowing that the bond formed was not fleeting, but lasting, a foundation for trust and confidence. As the night deepened, the house silent except for the occasional rustle of leaves outside, both Sarah and Jake felt a sense of completion mixed with anticipation. The day had tested boundaries, fostered courage, and nurtured understanding, and yet, they both sensed that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new fears, new opportunities to grow together. The chapter closed with a gentle, lingering tension, the promise of life unfolding, of hearts growing, of lessons continuing, leaving both aware that growth was a journey, that trust was fragile but powerful, and that even small steps could create profound change. The bond between them deepened, quietly, steadily, ready to face whatever the world would bring. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying the sense of possibility, and inside, the house held two hearts more connected than before, hearts ready for tomorrow, for challenges, for life, and for the continued discovery of courage, honesty, and trust, leaving the story at the edge of hope, anticipation, and quiet triumph.